It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation, we the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call time out. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket, open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy paths or allowed to mourn us. The love is sleeping us, never catch us one. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 reasons sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome into 5 on the Floor Live. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at ETJ Skolnick on 5 Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. 2 of us haven't done one of these in a while. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. Brady and Alex are at the game. I actually just put Brady's takeaways up, catch up with them on the On SI page. The Miami Heat lose 138-135 at home to Detroit. And this is a strange game to analyze. And I'm going to get into why. They were down 20 points in the fourth, I guess, right? Or late in the third and the fourth. Yeah. And they made it a game at the end. There were some calls that went against them. I thought Norm was fouled on that one play. Hero could have had 3 free throw attempts. He had 2. But here's the big thing. Detroit shot 59% from the floor. There's going to be a lot of conversation here about Jovic. There's going to be conversation about the Hero Powell fit and all of that, and the fact that the Heat offense hasn't looked quite the same since Tyler came back. But they scored 135. They shot 50% from the floor. They shot 48% from 3. We're going to talk about offense tonight? I mean, they gave up 59% shooting. Dennis Jenkins waltzed through the lane. They had a chance. They were down. Greg, they cut it to 2, and everybody blew up on that possession. Okay, everybody from Tyler to Bam. Nobody provided any resistance to a guy who's basically a G League call-up. I mean, he's played well for them this year. Yeah. So I know we have to get to the Hero Powell stuff. I understand it, particularly that Tyler, the 252 points. Tyler was 6 of 17 from the floor. He was 6 of 11 from 3, though. He was 0 of 6 from 2. He just couldn't get anything to go down early. He only had 2 assists. I understand that that's a concern. He's only had 2 assists over the last couple of games. And Nikola Jovic had 5 turnovers in 10 minutes. I know we will get to that because that was rough, and I'm not sure he's playable right now. And I hate to say that because I've been one of his biggest backers, but he does not look like he has any confidence. He looks like he forgot how to play. And that's unfortunate because we went through this. That's confidence. Yeah, and we went through this with Rozier last year. What is your biggest takeaway tonight? Because, again, it's a strange game. They lost by 3 to a very good team at home. Although that team didn't have Jalen Duren. That team was coming in on the second night of a back-to-back. I don't know if we should be positive about this or not. I'm not sure.
That's the tough question because in the fourth quarter, particularly late when they made that run, it looked like that they were coming together in ways that resembled, some of the best offensive stretches that we've seen them play. They, obviously scored a ton tonight. Eric Reed flashed a stat at the end of the broadcast, something like if the Heat score more than 130, they're like 33-3 all time before tonight. So it's like they very rarely lose a game where you score this much. But the key here, Ethan, is that it didn't look the way that, during the comeback, it looked great. But the rest of the game looked really bad. And so what do we take from that? I guess they can build on what they did at the end of this game to get back in it. That's the positive viewpoint of it. But the question marks still are there. I mean, Nico was a big one. I thought Fontecchio was a no-brainer play tonight when you couldn't hit threes earlier in the game. But also we're seeing how much Jaquez is important to this. And then the other thing, Norm and Tyler need to play well together. The box score watchers will tell you they played well together. And during the run towards the end of the game, they played fine together. But it wasn't necessarily that they were in tandem all night.
Yeah, and they did miss Jaquez tonight. There's no question. Although I still have my concerns about how it looks with Jaquez with Tyler back. He's the guy I thought was going to be most affected. He only played 17 minutes the other night, then he didn't play tonight. Of course, the injury plays into that. But yeah, the box score is confusing tonight. Let's go to the player of the night, because I do want to give someone their props who we haven't even discussed yet, who kept them in this thing. And he's a guy that a lot of Heat fans have wanted to push to the side, but they wouldn't have had a chance to come back. And yet he wasn't in the game when they came back. So it's again, weird night. Let's get to the player of the night.
And now it's time for the A Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the Heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
A couple things. First, we appreciate people supporting Lynette. She's got a whole bunch of new clients lately, so we appreciate everybody who's reached out to her, and I know everybody who does has had a good experience there. Look, Cade Cunningham was the best player on the floor. I'm not going to argue otherwise, although he did have 8 turnovers tonight, but he had 29 points, 14 of 25. He's just a lot for anybody to handle. They had no answers. They had no answers, and this is one of the problems. If you've got a guy who's that good as a number one on the other side, do the Heat have a number one to match that player? And that's one of the things we talked about on the podcast this week. But for the Heat, it was clearly Wiggins tonight. 37 minutes, led the team, 31 points, 10 of 15 from the floor, made 2 of his 4 threes, made all 9 of his free throws. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. I mean, they really wasted this, honestly. Plus 12 on the game. He's capable of this at times, and that's why Spo is not going to pull him from the starting lineup. This is not going to happen. He's not going to pull Hero either. This is basically a 2-player choice, right? It's Davion or it's Ware. For those who want Ware to start, and I understand the rationale behind that, because I thought Ware kept him in the game in the first half. His minutes were their best minutes, although then he ended up minus 12, which again, weird game. Okay, it's Ware or Davion, right? Like he's not taking Wiggins out of the lineup. Wiggins is either going to play the 4, he's going to play the 3.
Yeah, that's not happening. He views Wiggins, Adebayo, and Hero and Norm as starters, and that's that. So it's about Davion and Ware, and if they lose more games, this is just one loss, mind you. Like I know that the offense hasn't looked as good in the last 3, but and there was players missing from some of those games, but they lost tonight against a good Detroit team who had lost 2 in a row. So with that perspective in mind, if Davion continues to get 10 assists and no turnovers, like I'm just letting y'all know, I don't care what is happening otherwise. He's going to play a ton because he's 8th in the league in assists last time I checked. And the lack of turnovers is
0 tonight. I mean, it's really hard to justify taking Davion out of the starting lineup. And yet, here's the justification for it, okay? Because he does not deserve to lose his starting job, and it also screws up their rotations, because then I don't know what they do with Drew. And Spo's going to want to play Drew. But if the idea here is to fast track the Powell Hero thing, I can see Spo just doing it, right? And bringing Davion off the bench at the 6-minute mark and working him in and giving Ware the starts. That's the only option here. The option is not to put Wiggins on the bench. He's not going to do that. He's just not going to do that. There may be
and I
some
don't think he's jumping to do that. Like tonight is not a game that I think will make Spoelstra make that type of an adjustment to the lineup against the Clippers on Monday.
No, that's the thing. I mean, I can't. This comment comes honestly at this point. Sit Davion, let this thing collapse without him. We'll start appreciating him. That doesn't sound too bad. I don't. I'm going to make it very clear. Davion does not deserve to lose his starting job, and I do think certain things would collapse without him. But I don't know what the solution is. They have basically 6 starters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not including Larson, who was critical as a connector during that period of time tonight and tends to be whenever they start to make these runs. He's on the floor. Like, this has happened a lot. Him or Jaquez. And without Jaquez tonight, it was him. So Spo has a decision to make. I don't think it's based as much on where's confidence at this stage. I think they feel fairly comfortable with that.
Agreed.
It's just like, are you going to see if this Hero Powell thing works? And I'm with you in this at this point. Okay, the numbers for Hero and Powell looked fine tonight. The eye test didn't to me. Still,
yeah.
Okay, this is they scored again. Look, Norm finished 9 of 16, 7 of 8 from the line, 3 of 6 from 3. Had another of those where he got the 3 free throws. He was plus 15, 28 points. Like, that looks like a Norm Powell game from the rest of this season. It still looks like, though, he's not warming up as quick.
Yeah.
And it's been different since Tyler's come back. And I can't dispute that. And he was one of the fastest starting guys in the league this year.
Yeah. The early shot clock stuff has changed. That's what's changed a ton. And it's not just him, but that's what's deceiving about the box score. Also, with the inflated scoring throughout the league, you also have to take into account that, if you adjust for that kind of stuff, a lot of guys are going to score a ton when you're up in the 30s, right? It's just a situation where, for me, Norm and Tyler need to continue to look good on the court together. We saw glimpses of it late. That's maybe something they can build on, but until we see that night in and night out, that's the big question mark. And it's why people, I think, are pushing for the starting lineup changes, which really kind of deviating from the real issue at hand. And that is, can these two guys really have that high octane offense work with both of them as the primary elements, essentially?
I'm going to keep coming back to this number, though. And now I want to talk about Jovic. They shot 50% on 88 attempts. That included 48% on 29 three-point attempts.
Yeah.
And 85% on 39 free throw attempts. They shot 50, 48, 85 tonight on a high number of attempts. They didn't get bludgeoned on the boards. They gave up 5 more rebounds. For them, it's not awful. And the assists, they gave up, they had 2 few. Well, I'm sorry. Actually, that's right. 2 fewer assists than Detroit. Okay. They had 12 steals. Detroit committed 22 turnovers. All of that should be enough to win. I forget the ups and downs of falling behind by 20.
It was defense tonight.
The defense was brutal. Okay. Now that gets back to this. Okay. That's where my concern was with Tyler. It's not as much the offensive stuff. It's the defensive stuff. He's getting hunted. There's no question. I can't deny what my eyes are seeing. Okay. They're going after him. I thought there were possessions late in the game where Spo should have subbed him out on defense. I'm not gonna give him total blame for that layup that I have to watch it again. But that layup that Jenkins had late in the game, but he's in the frame there. There were a couple times on switches he got screened out. They're going after him late in games, and that's the other thing though. That's why the late game stuff to me is even more concerning than the starting stuff. The starting, look, they fall behind 20. They have so many possessions. They find ways to come back, okay? They overcame the Jovic disaster minutes tonight to come back. But the thing is, once they get to the end of the game, though, they've got to be able to close with a group that can defend.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get a stop. They got scores late in the game. They could not get a stop. Okay,
unless it was Davion stealing the ball from Cade. But how are you going to rely on that every possession?
But that's the thing. Like, we can talk about Davion starting or not starting, but Davion, whatever it is, needs to close. I'm more adamant about Davion closing than starting. I don't care that much about the starting part. We talk about it a lot. It gets a lot of downloads. It gets a lot of traffic on the website. It's the closing. Davion needs to close. Okay, so if you're going to close with Davion, then you are closing small. You're closing with Davion, Hero, Powell, because he's going to keep them out there offense, unless he's going to defense sub Tyler. And I don't have a problem with that. But the issue for Tyler is rhythm, right? If he's being subbed in and out, in and out, in and out. But if he's going to close with Wiggins and he's going to close with Bam, if you want to go bigger at the end of games, then he plays Ware, and he's basically defense, offensive subbing Ware and Tyler, right? And then we don't know where Hawkes fits into this. But see,
and Norm, has to be accounted for. And, Wiggins played well tonight and was a guy who, if we, look at the game start to finish, was the most consistent best player for the Heat. Obviously, Cade was the best player overall. As we wrap the segment for aggressive insurance, but
yes,
it's a weird position because they are really deep, but you have to make sure that everybody's roles are not colliding with one another, and that's what they're figuring out right now. And when Detroit comes to town on a 2-game losing streak, I think a lot of people maybe thought without Duren that the Heat had the upper hand. You have to remember that this group, the Pistons, they are not a team that is going to sit guys out and take the regular season off. They're one of those young teams that's still trying to make a name for themselves. So they came to play tonight. So credit them too, even though the Heat did come back late.
You see, they know where the ball's got to go.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you only have one guy, like they have a lot of good young players that they've drafted, but they have one guy. Like there's no equivocation at the end of games, right? They're going to Cade, okay? He's going to shoot it as many times as he can. He's going to make the play for them, or they're going to play off of him, right? The Heat are not there. But again, and I don't know that they'll get there, but again, that's not the problem. The problem is they gave up 138 tonight, and this was a real 138. This wasn't a pace-adjusted 138.
No.
They allowed Detroit to shoot 59% from the field. You are not winning games like that. I want to read this comment from Stevie Williams because we appreciate everybody with the power chats here. Send Norman Powell to the bench. Mitchell, Hero, Wiggins, Bam, and Ware. The small ball is killing us. Goodness gracious, Spo. He ain't sending. They're not. I'll say it, we appreciate the donation. They're not sending Norm to the bench. That's not to me. That's not the answer.
No,
and Spo's not going to find that to be the answer.
These two teams scored the most points in the paint on the season. I think they were tied for tops in the league tonight, and I don't have the number in front of me, and I'm not even going to go hunt it down because I don't want to depress Heat fans. But Detroit held up their end of the bargain in terms of ranking and showing that on the court tonight. The Heat obviously late figured some things out that could maybe change some of what the final results looked like. But throughout this game, Detroit was getting in the paint, and there's this consistent theme now where the teams are basically packing the paint on the Heat and saying, let's see you shoot. And let's see if this team can really be that high-octane shooting offense game over game over game. They got to good percentages tonight. There were a couple games prior to this that they didn't, and we thought that might be the theme tonight. It's not. It's the defense, and that's going to make Spoelstra have really interesting decisions to make late because, like you said, you would think Tyler up for an extension, hoping for a big extension that could cost Riley even more than it would have had he got it done already. Is he really going to be a sub in and out possession guy at the end of games? Is that what we're doing there? I think that begs a larger conversation.
He's not going to get bigger, stronger, and quicker. And look, people say that I'm an apologist for Tyler on this stuff, but at the end of games, he's going to get hunted. There's just no way around it. You look at who they're looking at on the Heat's roster, and he's the guy that they're going to go after, and he competes. Okay, so it's not a competition issue. It's just the reality of it, and that creates problems for them. All right, let's get to the play of the night, and that'll give us an opportunity to talk about someone who I can't really defend right now.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you. If you work in a hospital or a medical office, Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C. Armand Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-ray of the play of the day.
Why did Nico keep throwing it to the other team?
Oh my gosh. Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know what to say at this point because
Tonight was an opportunity with no Jaime.
no Simone either.
Yeah.
He didn't play Fontecchio against his old team, which typically he'll do that. He'll play the guy against his old. And I know Fontecchio has not shot the ball well lately, but we called it before the game. We said this is the opportunity for Jovic. But
Fumbled. It's tough because it's more than just confidence. Right now, he's struggling with what his role is, and he's struggling to just be functional. And when you see a player making repeated mistakes, that means they're thinking too much. And that's just that.
Yeah. And look, you saw in the game that he scored 29, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, whatever he had that one game. He had 6 turnovers. He was able to play through it. He's not going to be able to play through this stuff now. There's too many bodies in front of him, and there's too much damage that's been done with some of his play that's Spo's not going to stick with him. So he has to make the most of these limited opportunities. And again, I'm accused of making excuses for him all the time about role and all that, but they cleared the runway for him this year, and they paid him. And people are asking what you can get for him. I mean, you can't. He's not movable right now because his contract is not. The extension hasn't kicked in. So.
Yeah,
The
Once
money
he's
is
tradable. The deadline will have passed, y'all.
correct, and even if he wasn't, the money is not there yet. You can't. He's not going to match salaries with anybody. So this is a next year decision now, and the question is, without somebody getting hurt, which nobody's rooting for, and by that I mean a Bam again. I don't, or Jaime. I don't know what the role is, and the problem is that he can't replicate the things that Jaquez has done so well for them this year, right? The downhill stuff, he can't replicate that. So then you're asking him to kind of make plays in transition, but they don't really trust him in transition right now either. And
he just can't score like Jaquez. You can't expect that from him. And that second unit has been built upon them feasting on Jaquez, just basically annihilating second units because they can't defend him one-on-one. And I mean, we've seen Jaquez get doubled this season.
Mm-hmm.
Nico had a huge opportunity tonight to at least just even be a connective player amongst other guys, maybe being the scorers. And instead it was just a lot of mistakes. And I think that it's going to end up in him likely sitting. And it's just crazy when he got that extension because they're waiting with Tyler. And they've also, frankly, they're waiting with Norm right now. Although that's, I think, less of a development. And they didn't wait with Nico when they absolutely could have. And I think Nico would have gone into the summer and gone through their process as a restricted free agent, etc. And they gave him the money now.
There was no rush, but I was okay with it because to me it indicated that they were seeing things behind the scenes that were leading to this pop. And everything else that we saw and heard this offseason played into that.
Correct.
Spo touting his professionalism, the way he played in Eurobasket, the fact that he remained healthy. There were all of these positives leading up to camp. He even started him the first game, although I know Ware was nicked, and so that was the reason he said that he was planning on going with Ware.
But Jaquez has done is what we thought Nico was going to be doing.
Right.
It would look differently, but I mean impact-wise.
But I also think they thought I don't think if you gave them all truth serum, and again, it's a big front office, okay, with different opinions, and so I hate to make them a monolith all the time, but if you gave them truth serum about the preseason coming into the year and said that Jaime was going to be more impactful than Jovic, I think at least half of that front office would have said no.
Agree. More than half.
Right.
Yeah, no,
So,
they placed their bets on Nico. That's what I mean. Is
right.
that it's the only reason why that decision is not becoming even louder of a what is happening here is because Jaquez is offsetting that by playing so much above
And
what we
Larson.
expected him to play.
And Larson.
Yeah,
Larson
you're
and
right.
Jaquez have made up for the fact that Nico has not played well. But so I'll ask you this, and then we'll close it because we're almost at 30, and it's a Saturday night. Want to let people go out. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll have another podcast, and then also obviously Monday night I'll be down there for the Clipper game with Brady and Alex. Make sure you check out all the work on and sign. Also sign up for Off the Floor. Would you play if there was another opportunity like this? Let's say Jaime misses additional time. Do you play Keshad over Jovic? You play Simone over Jovic? Or are you okay?
Fontecchio. Night, I would have definitely gone to Fontecchio in the first half because the 3-point shooting at the end of the game is not representative of how they looked throughout the whole game. They could have used an offensive spark plug earlier when Tyler couldn't hit a shot. So, yeah, I think that they should go to Fontecchio first. I'm not maybe there on the Keshad Johnson minutes, but only because I think at that point, like you need Nico. I don't know. It's tough. Sometimes guys need to just take a few games off, Ethan, and that, like, I guess that can help them maybe reset or something like that and ground themselves or whatever the case may be. Because to put him out there for like 6-minute stints and that's it, I think that could hurt his confidence even more. So maybe you're right. Maybe he does slide into the DMP coach's decision situation just because you don't want to hurt his confidence any worse.
See, I think his confidence is going to be shot either way. That's my concern here. The short minutes where he can't work his way into it and he's committing turnovers and looking like that make it worse. But also after he was on this upward trajectory and then he's going to be the 11th or 12th guy. They've got a lot of work to do there. I don't really know where you take it. It's not the kind of thing. Spo's not going to do what he did with Rozier and Jaquez last year and just keep playing them at the detriment of the team. This team is competing for something now. Like this is a moving train. Okay, last year was a weird situation, and then the Jimmy deal. This is not that. You're in the top 4 in the East. Like regardless of whether people think they can stay there, they're there. Organizations want to treat it like that. Okay, maybe that does not mean they're going to go make a trade for Trae Young or LaMelo Ball. So stop it. Okay, or John Morant. But they're going to treat it, at least in the way that they use their players, like that, and the current players they have. And so they're not going to be, Spo's not going to be as patient with somebody like Nico as he might have been if they were kind of, right below 500. I know it sounds contradictory to how that's the way they operate. So,
well, depth is a strength this year. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it is, and he's got to figure out a way to use it. And I still think the single most important thing that has to be figured, there are 2 things on this team that have to be figured out this year as they're trying to win. Okay, we'll close it here. Number 1 thing is Hero and Powell. Can they play together? Can they be additive to each other? Okay, can 1 + 1 equal 2.5? Okay. If it can't, then that affects extension decisions. The other thing they need to figure out is Bam and Ware. Those are the 2 things above everything else. Okay, so figuring out Jovic, well, they paid Jovic. Okay, figuring out Jaquez, well, that's kind of figured itself out, right? Like those are the 2 things that they have to figure out. Cass can wait. Okay, and
we can make it 3.
Figure out. What's that?
Because they got to figure out those 2 things, but then they got to figure out, can all 4 of those guys play together? Because if you're gonna invest in those 4 as your core 4, for lack of a better term, they better be able to play together. I think that has to be paramount.
Well, and then the other part of it is, okay, so if you're going to play those 4 together and Wiggins is your connector, are you holding Wiggins past the trade deadline then to make sure that the thing works? If that's the case,
decisions to make.
So there's a lot of stuff there. We'll talk about it. I appreciate it. We did go 30 tonight, guys. For everybody who says we go light. I've got some stories to go edit. Thanks for joining us tonight. C-armandstaffing.com. Our friend Nelson, also insurancebythenet.com, and also Prize Picks. Use the code 5FIVE off the floor. Check out the link in the description. You know the deal by now. Have a good night, everybody.